I will call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum, and I will identify closed session topics. Closed session topics are recommended suspended expulsions, public employee assignment, reassignment, appointment, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaints, conference with labor negotiator, and that would be 2.5, that's unrepresented employees. And 2.6, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. 2.7, conference with real property negotiators. 2.8, anticipated litigation. Is there any public comment on closed session topics? Seeing none, we'll adjourn to closed session. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. We have a quorum here, and I will introduce the interpreter. Adam Avalos will serve as the Spanish interpreter for this meeting. Meeting attendees who would like to listen in Spanish to the Spanish interpretation of the meeting, please pick up headphones from the table located in the back of the meeting room. This announcement will not be shared in Spanish.
Adam Avalos servirá como intérprete al español para esta reunión. Invitamos a los asistentes de la reunión que deseen escuchar la interpretación al español, el ir por audífonos a la mesa ubicada al fondo de esta sala de reuniones.
Thank you. This meeting is being webcast live and recorded. The meeting or webcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Any member of the public wanting to provide public comment on items listed on tonight's agenda, please fill out the public comment form. It's a green form. It's located on the table in the back of the room. Please hand your form to Administrative Assistant Delia Smart before the item comes up on the agenda. Please complete a separate form for each agenda item you'd like to comment on. Ms. Smart is sitting at the table at the back of the room. Members of the public providing public comment, please use the microphone on the stand located in the front of the room. Okay, our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Board Clerk Gamonian.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Okay, our next item on the agenda will be to report action taken in closed session. In closed session, on a motion by Board Member Naylor and seconded by Board Member Gamonian, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Andrew D. Mayo to the position of Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. Mr. Andrew DeMayo currently serves as the Administrator of Human Resources Development. Mr. DeMayo has served our district for a total of 24 years. He taught elementary for 9 years, was a teacher on special assignment for 3 years, and was an elementary and middle school principal for a total of 10 years. He also served as a management analyst at Kern County Superintendent of Schools for 2 years before returning to the district to serve in his current role. Mr. DeMayo also serves as an adjunct professor of administrative services at Fresno Pacific University. Mr. DeMayo earned a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies and a master's degree in educational leadership from California State University, Fresno. He also holds a multiple subject teaching credential and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations, Mr. DeMayo. Is he here?
He's in the back. Stand up, Andy.
Yeah, there he is. He's sitting there. All right, there's more. Okay. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Villegas and a second by Board Member Naylor, the board agreed unanimously on a vote of 7-0 to appoint Benjamin Dillon to the position of Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Mr. Benjamin Dillon currently serves as the Director of Special Education. He has been employed with Visalia Unified for a total of 14 years. Mr. Dillon has served the district in various roles, including program manager, school psychologist, board certified behavior analyst, Director of Social Emotional Wellness. Mr. Dillon also currently teaches for the Tulare County Office of Education Impact Program. Prior to coming to the district, Mr. Dillon worked at University of Phoenix College of Social Sciences for 9 years, where he taught courses as a faculty advisor and served as a campus faculty assessment liaison. Mr. Dillon earned a Bachelor of Science in Behavioral Science with a lifespan development emphasis on California Baptist University and a master's degree in education, school psychology from Fresno Pacific University. He also holds a pupil personnel services credential and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to Mr. Benjamin Dillon. Okay, another one. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Gaby and a second by Board Member Gamonian, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Natalie Garza to the position of Area Administrator. Ms. Natalie Garza currently serves as principal of Viva Blunt Elementary School. She has been employed by Visalia Unified School District for 21 years. Ms. Garza has served the district as an elementary school teacher, an assistant principal, a principal at various sites. She also serves as an administrator services mentor and adjunct professor for Fresno Pacific University. Ms. Natalie Garza earned a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a master's degree in education from California State University, Fresno. She also holds a multiple subject teaching credential, a California Reading Specialist credential, and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations, Natalie Garza. She could stand too. All right, I have another one. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Gaby and a second by Board Member Gamon, and the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Matthew Shin to the position of Area Administrator. I saw you get up. Okay. Mr. Matthew Shin currently serves as a principal at Redwood High School. He has been employed with Visalia Unified School District for 20 years. Mr. Shin started with Visalia Unified as an assistant principal, where he served for 10 years before promoting to a principal position. Prior to coming to the district, Mr. Shin taught physical education and health driver's ed at Dinuba High School for 7 years. Mr. Matthew Shin earned a Bachelor of Science in Physical Education from California State University, Fresno, and a master's degree in education from Fresno Pacific University. He also holds a single subject teaching credential in physical education and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations, Mr. Matthew Shin. I have another one. In closed session, on a motion by Board Member Gaby and a second by Board Member Gamonian, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Elizabeth Serrato to the position of Area Administrator. Ms. Elizabeth Serrato currently serves as principal at Washington Elementary School. She has been employed with Visalia Unified School District for 18 years, where she serves as middle school English teacher, a learning director at La Jolla Middle School, and an elementary school principal. Ms. Serrato earned a Bachelor of Arts in Social Sciences from Chapman University, a master's degree in curriculum and teaching from Fresno Pacific University. She also holds a single subject teaching credential in English, a single subject teaching credential in Spanish, and multiple teaching credential and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to Elizabeth Serrato. Here's another one. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Villegas and a second by Board Member Naylor, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Carly Hawkins to the position of principal at Visalia Charter Independent Study. Okay. Ms. Carly Hawkins has been employed with Visalia Unified School District for 14 years. She currently serves as principal at Green Acres Middle School. She has also served as high school extended year principal, assistant principal, and as a learning director. Prior to her administrative roles, Ms. Hawkins served as a world history teacher for 6 years. Ms. Carly Hawkins earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from University of California, San Diego, and a master's degree in Educational Administration and Supervision from California State University, Fresno. She also holds a single subject teaching credential in Social Sciences and an Administrative Services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations, Ms. Carly Hawkins. Okay, I have another one here. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Blair and a second by Board Member Gamonian, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to reassign Courtney Nikki Jimenez to the position of principal at Hurley Elementary School. Ms. Nikki Hernandez has served as principal at Crowley Elementary for the last 3 years. Prior to coming to Visalia Unified School District, Ms. Jimenez served as principal at Parlier Unified School District for 4 years and served as an English teacher at Woodlake Valley Middle School. Ms. Nikki Jimenez earned a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Study and Master's degree in Educational Leadership and Administration from California State University, Fresno. She also holds a multiple subject teaching credential and Administrative Services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to Nikki Jimenez. Okay. So in closed session on a motion by Board Member Naylor and a second by Board Member Villegas, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Brittany Guerrero to the position of principal at Washington Elementary School. Ms. Brittany Guerrero currently serves as assistant principal at Conyer Elementary School. Prior to her appointment of assistant principal, Ms. Guerrero served as fifth grade teacher at Visalia Unified for 5 years and was employed with Exeter Unified, where she served as elementary school teacher for 6 years. Ms. Brittany Guerrero also earned a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies and a master's degree in Educational Leadership and Administration from California State University, Fresno. She also holds a multiple subject teaching credential and Administrative Services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to Brittany Guerrero. And I just want to clarify that we are not related. Okay, so that was the action taken in closed session. And we'll move on with our agenda. Item 3.5, revisions to the agenda and or enclosure items. These are revised meeting handouts for this evening's meeting. Enclosure number 18, 19, 20, 46, 48, 52, and 55. I will ask the board to please take action to accept the revised agenda. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Ms. Naylor, second by Ms. Casper Soleno. Okay, all in favor?
Board Member Blair,
Yes.
Board Member Casper Soleno,
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero,
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Board Member Villegas.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Our next item on the agenda is Visalia Unified Energy Stewardship Recognition. This is enclosure number 1, Mr. Eric Kerr, Chief COO, and Jim Kim, Synergistic Client Manager.
Good evening, President Guerrero, Interim Superintendent Cardoza, Superintendent Schrum, members of the board. Eric Kerr, Chief Operations Officer. I would like to introduce the Synergistic team. We've had a relationship with Synergistic since 2013 for our energy conservation, and they're here this evening to present the district with an award. So, Jay Kim.
Good evening. In September of 2013, Visalia Unified School District partnered with Synergistic to start its energy conservation program under the leadership of the board, superintendent, and cabinet members, and working with our consultants and our energy specialists. The impact of the program has reduced energy usage in Visalia Unified by 17% overall. The environmental impact of this energy conservation program is reduced carbon emissions, equivalent to taking cars off the road for 67 miles not driven. So we're very proud of the partnership, working with the Maintenance and Operations Department, also facilities, and saving money and saving energy and putting the funds back in the classrooms where it matters the most. So it's my honor to present. We have a banner and a plaque that we'd like to present to the district. And we're very grateful and thankful for Visalia Unified for being a model in California, not only California, but the whole country in terms of energy stewardship and energy sustainability. So thank you very much. We have the banner and we have the plaque.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, it's not 67 miles, it's 67 million miles, right? Just for folks who are listening in.
Our next item on the agenda is focus on student learning, and item 5.1, enclosure number 2, spotlight on good things happening in the school district, and that would be Interim Superintendent Doug Cardoza.
Thank you, Board President Guerrero, board members, Superintendent Schrum, and community. I'm Doug Cardoza, Interim Superintendent. Today, I just wanted to really do a little reflection on the year. We had lots of great spotlights this year. So I really just kind of put together some of the spotlights, and just a big thank you really out to the kids, the staff, and those that really gave us something to celebrate throughout the year. So we've got this is just kind of going through some of the images that we had throughout the year. You know, I wanted to really reflect on this and think about the positive lights that the kids and the staff put out there for us as we work through some pretty challenging times. So our students, our staffs, parents, community members, they work through most of the most challenging time we've ever seen in education. I don't know if that is scrolling or not.
It is.
Over the past year, we've worked to get back some sense of normalcy. And really these images that we looked at throughout the year helped us stay grounded and really think about really what's important in education. You know, while we as adults work through the challenging times and the emotions that we face, the one constant that kept us grounded was the kids, the children of the USD. As I looked at the images throughout the year, you know, and looking at these today, it brings me back to the resiliency and the positivity that kids bring into our lives each day. And even when times are tough, just walking onto a campus around students and staff during this past school year has been what always lifted me up. It always grounded me. I do visit with board members, and I think it grounded all of us to say our kids are doing well, our staff's working hard, and there's some real positive things happening within our schools. These images are the images that we shared throughout the year. Just the hard work and just recognizing the kids and the staff that created this. Our staff, our students, our parents, they jumped in to reestablish a rich, engaging opportunities for our kids and created these images that we've enjoyed throughout the year. Our students have been the focal point that keep us grounded and continue to give us hope, even looking ahead to the greater times ahead. So there's a lot of opportunity ahead of us. Again, I want to recognize and thank all the students, the staff of Visalia Unified that have really created these images for us, and the times that we've been able to go out to events, to band events, music events, all the great things that were happening. So again, personally thanking all of the kids and the spotlight that we've had this year. I'll let this scroll for just a minute and I have a final thank you. finally, just a thank you. And thank all the people that put on the reception event that was given to me. It was so special, and the buckle, as you saw there, was very unique that you all had put together for me. So just thank you for everything.
I was going to ask if there were any questions or comments from the board, but I think the standing ovation said it all. All right, we're going to move on. Our next item on the agenda is general public comment. General public comment on any school-related topic may be heard at this time. The board asks that any public comment on an item listed on tonight's agenda be addressed at the time the item comes up for discussion by the board. Pursuant to board policy, the board may limit individual comments to no more than 3 minutes and individual topics to 20 minutes. It's recommended that you begin your comments by stating your name. Are there any public comments tonight? We have one. Give me the name. Crystal Reynolds. Didn't see you back there. Come on up.
Good evening, board. I just want to apologize about last week. I was here. I watched the board presentation, but I had a little bit of laryngitis. I don't have COVID or anything like that, but I use my dance teacher voice a lot. So I lost my voice last week. So I apologize. I just wanted to come up and give a little feedback regarding the community engagements. I was able to attend one on, I can't even remember the date, the morning one.
Monday.
Yes. So I was able to go to the morning one at, I think it was Golden Oak. Valley Oak, yes. And I want to tell you, we were greeted nicely from the board members and Mr. Strum. I got to meet him briefly, and that was wonderful. Just a little feedback that I'm hearing from other constituents that I think would maybe help and maybe even guide the board a little bit more on the parental concerns that have been brought forth the last couple years at these meetings. At the very end, Mr. Shrum did like a Q&A with the parents, and I thought that was really great, but it was only like maybe like the last 5 or 10 minutes. If we had some more opportunities to have some open communication like that, I think that would be great. And those questions that you guys put along the walls, those are great, but I think if you guys have that time to talk to the parents first and then create your questions off of what was discussed, I think that might help you guys to focus a little bit more on those areas that, you know, have been kind of a miss between the board and the parents, and maybe just kind of help you guys fine tune those areas that maybe need a little bit more work. So it was just a suggestion, but just wanted to bring that up. And I am going to try to go to the one tomorrow. So looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I have no other public comment. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Would any board member like to pull an enclosure?
Go ahead. Oh, I would like to pull enclosure number 3, the warrant list.
Enclosure number 3, correct? Okay.
Correct.
I need to pull enclosure number 18, the certificated personnel report, because my sister-in-law is on there, but she's fabulous.
Any other board member? No one else? Okay, can I have a motion for
I'll
the
motion
balance?
to approve the balance of the consent agenda.
Motion
Second.
by Case Soleno,
Second.
second by Nader, all in favor?
Board member Case Spears Soleno.
Yes.
Board member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero.
Yes.
Board member Naylor.
Yes.
Board member Villegas.
Yes.
Board member Blair.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, enclosure number 18.
You want to do 3 first or 18?
Oh, number 3, yeah. Mr. Villegas.
Yes. As stated previously, I have a brother who is employed by somebody that the district does business with, and therefore, out of an abundance of caution, I'll be abstaining to avoid any perception of a conflict of interest.
Thank
I
you.
will motion to approve enclosure number 3.
Motion by Case
I'll second.
Soleno,
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Blair. All in favor?
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero.
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Board Member Villegas.
Abstain.
Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Board Member Case Beer Soleno.
Yes.
Motion carries 6, 1 abstention.
Okay, enclosure number 18,
Yes, I will.
you will be abstaining also?
I'll be abstaining.
I will motion to approve inclusion number 18, certificated personnel report.
Okay, motion by Ms. Case Soleno,
Second.
second by Ms. Nader. All in favor?
President Guerrero.
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Board Member Villegas.
Yes.
Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Board Member Case Beer Soleno.
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Abstain, but Visadero is super lucky.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7, 1 abstention.
Our next item on the agenda is Visalia Unified School District Local Indicators and Performance Level, enclosure number 45, presenter Jim Sullivan, Administrator, Family and Community Services.
Good evening, Board President. I do have to say one thing, though. Today, you have made me feel 20 years older because one of the principals you just appointed was actually my first grade classroom. Yes. And she was, actually, she knew much more than I did. So she was very smart.
Who?
Brittany. And so.
Well, I still remember your
pretty-
student teacher at Fairview Elementary.
Yes, and actually, yes.
All right.
Yes. So thank you, Board President. I'm sorry. My name is Jim Sullivan. I'm the Administrator of Family and Community Services. I'm here to share with you our local indicators and performance levels. What are our local indicators? These are required for us to share with you tonight. These are indicators that are actually on our dashboard, but are self-reporting. These are basic services, which include our teacher credentials, our facilities, and textbooks. It also is the implementation of our state academic standards, as well as our parent engagement, school climate, and our broad course of studies. They are either met, or not met for 2 or more years. And the way they're met is just by reviewing them. So that's what we do. We go through a process and we review them and then we share them with you. So the number of misassigned teachers, and we talk about is 15, and those were really because of CTE. We had 0 students that did not have textbooks, and we have 19 of our schools were under good repair, others were under fair repair. And I'm gonna attribute most of that is because of COVID, just trying to get things cleaned up from COVID times. So we met that. Progress towards implementation of state standards. I sent a survey out to our principals and they completed the survey. It ranges from exploring and research phase all the way to the full implementation and sustainability. For English language arts, English development, you can see that we are in full implementation of instructional materials and all of those while we're still working on our English language development materials. For professional learning, for math and English, the principals feel like we're in full implementation while we're still at the initial stages of history, science, and social studies. And you have to remember, those were adopted just before COVID. So it's hard to have professional development while we're under lockdown. Progress in implementing the following academic standards in CTE. All of these were initial based on, again, I'm going to guess many of those were done before COVID, so they're still working, especially like world languages I know was. And this is based on the principal surveys. So we met that because we reviewed it knowing that we are developing plans on how to get better for next year. So for parent engagement, we make sure that we have translations for parents. We make sure that we provide different workshops for parents as well. So we meet those standards. For school climate, Mr. Gridiron's department shared this with you during the spring. And the ones that I pulled out for us to really think about is 84% of our students are completing the survey, felt their teachers cared about them. 58% were in extracurricular activities and 80% felt they were part of the school. So we meet that. So the broad course of study, we look at master schedules, AP courses, dual enrollment, CTE, and linked learning pathways. We looked at all students, students with disabilities, and English language learners. So what we found is, and it's, again, we've been working on this and we're continuing working on this, is students with IEPs, English students who are learning English, and students who have failed courses don't have an offering of broad course of study because they are in either a support class or they're retaking a class. And barriers for that is our schedules. We have a traditional high school schedule. Students aren't willing to take a pre-first, and students enrolled in an intervention class is why they usually aren't able to take the broad course of study. So I also wanted to remind us in our dashboard, next year in this year, but in December next school year, we will have our dashboard, but the dashboard is going to look different because we will not have the colors. Because remember, in order to have the colors, you have to compare 2 different years. And this is going to be a baseline year for us. So we will be sharing academic scores in 3 through 8 and 11, chronic absenteeism rate. These are all of this year's scores, graduation rate, suspension rate, and English language, English learner progress. The one that will not be shared at all is our college and career readiness for next year. Any questions? This is just for information. Yes.
How come we're not going to have a college and career readiness score?
I'm not sure on that. I'm going to guess probably because they, Andre, why we're not going to have a college and career score for the.
Good evening, Board President Guerrero, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Cardoza, and incoming Superintendent Shrum. One of the things is that the state is having to recalibrate all the data. So that is why we are not able to have a college and career readiness score. And so you're going to see that, just like Mr. Sullivan was saying, that a lot of the data sets in the dashboard itself will look different because we're basically starting from scratch. We're going to be baseline again, after the pandemic. So there are also, if you recall, just one last thing, caveat on the college and career readiness indicator is that they're actually going to be integrating even more, like the seal of civic engagement. That'll be put in there as well. And so there's some additional pieces that they'll have as well. So stay tuned, it's coming shortly.
And sorry, just to piggyback off that. So what you're indicating is that it's not like our school district is going to be the only district here. Like
the whole state.
Thank you.
Yes. On all of those, the whole state. Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question in regards to, and I think it's wonderful, 84% of our students completing the survey feel that teachers care about them. I'm wondering if we can have any sort of follow-up to, the 16% of students who felt differently. Maybe it's a focus group, maybe it's emailing them. I understand some of these students may be at different grade levels, maybe a few of them have graduated, but it'd be wonderful if we could follow up with those 16% of students and find how we can increase that number. Because though 84 is great, 16 is still a bit of a concerning number for me.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the way we're moving next year with the priority being connection, that number is going to go way up.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. This is information only, and we'll move on to our next agenda item. Our next agenda item is Local Control Accountability Plan for 2022 and 2023, second read, enclosure number 46. Mr. Sullivan.
And it's a public hearing, Mr.
Oh, I will open the public hearing.
I'm here to share for this one is our public hearing for our Local Control Accountability Plan and asking for your approval. I just want to remind you that it's a 3-year plan and that we are looking at the second year of our 3-year plan. I also want to remind you and share with you that we shared with and got feedback from our administrators, students, parents, and bargaining units. This was just a reminder of all of the additional services we added to our LCAP based on our supplement, using our supplemental concentration funds. And then we had to make a change. There were some changes that the county came back with yesterday, and it was basically is just because of changes with our budgets. So it's nothing affecting our LCAP except for how we're reporting it. So for example, you'll notice, I can't see, I'm sorry. Our district revenue is actually 414 million, of which 327,000 is LCF funds. It doesn't affect any of our LCAP, it's just the reporting is we wanted to make sure it was accurate for everybody. This was the other parts and changes you can see that are highlighted, and then the changes that were made. And again, it's strictly because of our budgeting with the way it was working with our budgets. And so we're asking for your approval for our.
Any questions or comments? Okay, this is an action item.
Motion to approve.
Was it Case Priscilla?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
I'll
and
second it.
by Ms. Naylor. All in favor?
Board Member Naylor,
Yes.
Board Member Villegas,
Yes.
Board Member Blair,
Yes.
Board Member Case Salino,
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero.
Yes,
Motion carries 7-0.
passes. We'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to our next agenda item.
Last time for tonight.
Okay, our next agenda item is enclosure number 47 for 2022-2023 Local Control Accountability Plan Addendum.
This is a, oops, sorry, Chuck. So this is a required document that we have to have for our federal funds. It's a legal requirement that we need to submit to CDE. The components are strategy and alignment, meaning that we're aligning our federal funds using our, aligning our federal funds with our supplemental concentration funds. It's a provision that we also complete our consolidated application, which we present to you or we share with you in August and in February. And then also we need to address how the LCAP is not using federal funds. So there are certain requirements that federal funds require that is not part of the LCAP per se, as in it's not required in the LCAP. So we add it into our LCAP so that way it's all one document, but I still have to have an addendum that I have approved by you. So for alignment, we share everything with our district advisory committee, our district English learner advisory committee, all of those educational partners. We use that feedback, and you'll notice that in our LCAP, the supplemental concentration funds, and then we have an additional activity that we use in addition for federal funds to help support all of our goals. One of the things we have to do is review our non-Title I schools with our Title I schools, ensuring that our teachers have the same amount of years. It's a complicated formula that HRD works with us on. So there is no disparity between our teachers' years of assignment at an elementary school that is non-Title I versus Title I. Our school plans, this is our federal implementation of effective parent and family engagement. We ensure our school plans have family engagement activities in it. We also ensure that they have an engagement part of discussion during their school site council meetings. Also, we have to share that we serve our homeless students because that is a requirement of Title I. So for our homeless students, we have district liaisons that they're on every homeless student, all 500 are on a caseload of either our social workers or our district liaisons. We have a teacher that goes to the battered women's shelter when it's not safe for students to come to school. We provide staff training to help identify our homeless students, as well as provide food, shelter, and transportation. We also have to provide a transition between preschool to kindergarten, 6th to 7th grade, 8th grade to 9th grade, and then in 12th grade to college. So you can see for preschool, we have transitional meetings and we're aligning our curriculum. For middle school, we have transitional meetings as well. 6th graders get to go visit the middle schools, as well as middle schools have parent meetings to help parents understand what middle school is like. For middle school to high school, we have the academic counseling. Again, students get to go visit their high schools. They see the linked learning presentations, there's parent meetings, and then transitional meetings. And for college and career, We offer dual enrollment in schools. We have our AP classes, parent meetings, college workshops. So for Title II, we have to provide professional development. So we provide professional development with our new teachers and our tenured teachers, as well as we use Title II funds to help support professional learning for our administrators and our instructional classified people. For Title III, this is specifically for our English learners, and it is above and beyond what Title I does. So it's very targeted and it's very restrictive funds. We use that to support our students with a paraprofessional. And this is, we're creating another one for our middle schools and for newcomers that are students who are learning English. So we pay for paraprofessionals for each of those programs. We pay for professional development for teachers, as well as our administrators and some classified. So for Title IV, this is kind of a newer title that we've only had for about 5 or 6 years. That is for a well-rounded education. We pay for our world language teachers at each of the middle schools. We pay for technology support, and we also pay for 1 or 2 of the college and career readiness people. Do you have any questions on our addendum? And this we have to have approval on, I'm sorry.
Questions or comments?
I just want to thank you for taking in all the input from our stakeholders and educational partners, and especially for, increasing support for VAPA and transportation. I know that's something community members, directors of the schools were asking for. So thank you.
No, thank you.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Soleno, second by Mr. Villegas.
I had one more question.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I just wanted to ask about the Parent and Family Engagement Committee. Sorry if you said, where does that come in? Who meets?
So that's part of our district advisory committee and our English learner advisory committee. We kind of meld those together. So we talk to them about what we need to do to provide more support for our families. So it's all one big committee. So for example, next year we're creating additional workshops. The principals are asking for additional workshops on for little ones, for parents who have little kids. We're providing additional workshops. Parents are asking for support in social emotional. So our social workers are creating parent workshops for that. So the parent engagement committee is all part of our district advisory committee and our English learner advisory committee.
Got it.
Okay, we do have a motion by Casper Soleno and second by Ms. Naylor. All in favor? Oh, Mr. Villegas, all in favor?
Board Member Villegas?
Yes.
Board Member Blair?
Yes.
Board Member Casper Soleno?
Yes.
Board Member Gaby?
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero?
Yes.
Board Member Naylor?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is a public hearing, and that is for the 2022-2023 Visalia Unified School District proposed budget, second read and closure number 48. I will open up the public hearing.
Good evening, President Guerrero, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Cardoza and incoming Superintendent Mr. Shrum. I'm Nathan Hernandez, Chief Business Officer, and tonight we have the second reading of the district's budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. We don't have any changes to the budget from what was presented a couple of weeks ago. We do, though, have a agreement at the state between the legislature and the governor. So we'll be getting more information over the next 2 weeks or so of what's included in that budget, LCFF, additional base funding, some things for facilities and such. So as we have additional info, we'll prepare that. We'll bring it back to the board as part of a 45-day budget revision. That'll come in August. But for tonight, I've got the presentation up and we can go specifically to slides if you have questions, or we can just open it up for questions and comments.
Any board member have any questions or comments? This is an action item. Okay.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank you, Mr. Hernandez. This is a lot of work. And so I just appreciate you keeping us balanced and on track and with our budgets. But I'd like to motion to approve and accept the budget.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Naylor, second by Ms. Casper Soleno. All in favor?
Board Member Blair?
Yes.
Board Member Casper Soleno?
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. Board Member Guerrero.
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Board Member Villegas.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Motion passes. We'll close this public
One-
hearing and we'll move on to our next item on the agenda.
Mr. Guerrero, I just want to make sure, because I know this was a public hearing, we're on enclosure number 48. And was this an action item? Because I'm reading here, there's item for information only at this time.
No,
No.
Oh,
it's
right, the revised.
The
Gotcha.
second read action item.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 49, substantiation of the need for ending fund balance in excess of minimum required reserve. Mr. Hernandez, Chief Business Officer.
Good evening again, and thank you. And I just want to say, we appreciate the thanks from the board. There's a lot of folks who do a lot of hard work back there in our budget department who put that together. So we got to thank them for their hard work as well. So this item tonight, the substantiation of, that's a lot of words. It resulted from a 2014-15 Budget Act item where a ballot was placed before the voters and they voted to approve what was a Proposition 98 education reserve. And in that ballot was also some language around district reserves. And when some items became, when there were some triggers that were met off of the state budget, then that required a cap on district reserves, which has been amended to 10%. So all of those things have happened now, 8 years later. And so here we are, we have for the first year, this cap on our district reserve of 10%. So there's a document in the report that shows what our ending fund balances are, the required 3% reserve, which is about 13 million, 12.2 million. And then what we have set aside in addition to that. And so this is just a transparency item to show what our ending fund balances are. As I said, our ending fund balance just over 45 million. The minimum reserve is just over 12. That excess fund balance is 33 million. Our total reserve is about 8.75. So we are under the 10%. We have two items that are committed balances, which do not count towards that minimum reserve. And that's a pension trust as well as a reserve set aside for the LCAP. And so we do meet that requirement to stay under the 10%. Lots of reasons why we want to have a reserve above the minimum. We think about just 2 years ago, we were back in the deferral model where the state was not sending us all of our cash. So managing our cash flows so that we don't have to borrow and pay interest, addressing any unexpected cost, and again, having funding for when the state budget changes. So lots of reasons to maintain that reserve above the minimum. If we do get to the situation where we're close to that minimum, there are ways that we can address that. We can request an exemption from the county office for 2 years. We can move funds as allowable between district funds, between general fund and other district funds, or we spend down the reserve. So at this point, we're not to that level, so we don't need to make any recommendations to do that, but we will continue to watch our reserve levels and stay under that cap. And with that, we'd entertain any questions.
Any questions or comments?
I'll motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Villegas,
I'll second.
second by Case Soleno. All in favor?
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero.
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Board Member Villegas.
Yes.
Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Board Member Case Soleno.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 50, resolution to approve the expenditure of education protection account funds in accordance with the budget for fiscal year 22-23. Kayla Johnson, Finance Director.
Good evening, Board President Guerrero, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Cardoza, and Incoming Superintendent Shrum. My name is Kyla Johnson, Finance Director. Tonight, we are here to bring forth a resolution to approve the expenditure of the Education Protection or EPA funds in accordance with the budget for fiscal year 22-23. The passage of Prop 30 on the November 2012 ballot created a separate funding stream for school districts called the Education Protection Act, which is part of our local control funding formula or LCFF allocation. And then in November of 2016, Proposition 55 was passed, which extended the personal income taxes effective January 18 through 2030. And so revenues are directed into the EPA fund and allocated to school districts, charter schools, and community colleges. Annually, the district must report to the board in public session how these funds would be spent, with no monies from EPA allowed for salaries or benefits of administrators or any other costs. Visalia Unified plans to use these funds to pay salaries and related benefits for instructional personnel. And so tonight we are asking for your approval of this resolution.
Questions or comments from the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Casper Solano. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Blair. All in favor?
President Guerrero,
Yes.
Board Member Naylor,
Yes.
Board Member Villegas,
Yes.
Board Member Blair,
Yes.
Board Member K-Spear Solano,
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda, we're moving on to focus on student learning. Our next item is Universal Pre-Kindergarten UPK Plan Update, enclosure number 51. Amy Sullivan, Coordinator of Early Learning Curriculum and Instruction.
Good evening, board. Board President Guerrero, Interim Superintendent Mr. Cardoza, Incoming Superintendent Mr. Schrum, fellow board members, and most importantly, the students and families that we serve here in Visalia. I am Amy Sullivan, and I can tell you that I have been definitely honored to serve as coordinator and advocate of early learning here in VUSD. So thank you very much. My co-presenter this evening is Mr. Andy DeMeo, newly appointed Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. So thanks, Andy, for joining me this evening. All right, so our purpose this evening is actually to share some information with you regarding the Universal Pre-Kindergarten or UPK plan. There's a lot of acronyms to this, okay? So I'll try and break it down here for you a little bit, but you'll recall that I have been providing updates along the way through board study sessions and other board presentations and board line as well to update you on our planning process for our final information this evening that we'll submit to the state later on. All right, so you'll also recall that the intent of this law is to increase the access for learning opportunities for more 3- and 4-year-old children throughout our state by utilizing state and federal funded programs that you'll see over here in the blue. Then along with extended learning opportunity programs, you'll see in the middle section with the teal. And lastly, the private and family child care programs that you'll see over in the green on the right. So all of these programs rest under the entire Universal Pre-Kindergarten or UPK umbrella. It's important to note that as a school district, we currently provide these programs here under this UPK umbrella. So we typically think of the new expansion only focusing on transitional kindergarten or TK, okay? Because we're an LEA and we provide that service at our 27 sites. However, the UPK plan also encompasses the inclusive preschool learning experiences provided through our California State preschool program, which is the box there on the top. And we currently serve up to 950 students in that program, along with a strong partnership, that box right below, which is our special ed preschool program as well. And currently we're serving 108 students with supported classroom learning experiences this year. So through a collaboration between myself and Lisa Clausen, who serves as our special education program manager for our preschool program there, we've had a strong partnership, great collaboration there between the two programs. And because of that, we've been able to receive additional funding and pilot innovative service delivery models to support our student needs here in Visalia. So the good news about these two blue boxes right here is this: because of the partnership and the support from our school district and our board, these two pieces here already put us ahead in our UPK planning. This is exciting for us. The next piece I want to focus on is the teal section there in the middle with the extended learning opportunities. This is also an exciting piece for our community as well. The extended learning opportunities are those after-school learning programs that we're most familiar with. And so in the plan is a part of our, we're going to actually continue our established partners with our Pro Youth Heart programs. And so the benefit to our communities and our families that have young learners already, for the first time starting in August, our TK age eligible children will be able to stay for after-school care programs through this UPK plan and our established partnership with Pro Youth Heart. So if you're a family with younger children needing that after-school care, this is a wonderful benefit to this UPK plan. And lastly, I'm going to scoot back over to our blue box. And this is the transitional kindergarten, the piece that everyone is probably most familiar with in this expansion piece. Briefly, I'll share with you, you've seen this timeline before that I've shared. Over in the blue box is our current school year that we're wrapping up. The school had given, the state has given us this year to do that planning work so that we can begin implementing in the red section there by providing, rolling back 2 months every year. Students will be getting younger until we get to the final yellow box. That's our full implementation year of 2026. So in 2026, what that looks like for full implementation is that if you're a child who is turning 4 by September 1st, you will be offered the opportunity to attend Universal Transitional Kindergarten at one of our 27 elementary school sites. So keeping in mind that we are actually going to be dropping the age in TK, students will be getting younger. How did we go about planning this process? We utilized our educational partners, and the first team that we developed was the logistics team with our executive cabinet members, then with our vision team with a core group of principals, lastly, our teachers, and then also meetings with our community partners along the way. So members from these teams had the opportunity to set out and learn from other programs that had already been identified as early implementers. And in doing so, we were able to take several groups over to visit classrooms and learn from their experiences. And it's through these experiences that shaped our vision and coherence while creating interdepartmental processes to ensure planning for business facilities and operations, human resources, community partnerships, and lastly, curriculum and instruction. So as a former TK teacher, I can tell you the next piece is pretty exciting because when I initially started teaching TK, there wasn't an identified TK curriculum. A part of this plan is that as we move closer to the full implementation year, transitional kindergarten will have their own designated curriculum process to move forward and looking at curriculums that will provide developmentally informed practices. And we're anticipating this will be closer to 26 in the full implementation year. So understanding that we had some time, we wanted to first examine what was currently being used in the classrooms, and then we looked at adding supplemental pieces to help with the support of that expansion of younger ages beginning in August. So fortunately, our site principals and teachers have already begun learning about the required shifts in the practices and are implementing the supplemental materials.
Well, good evening. As Mrs. Sullivan shared, we have been partnering through this process to just share some information with you. I realize a lot of this information is not new, but we wanted to just make sure you knew where we were coming from and where we are right now. The good news is this is a wonderful opportunity. The state, as you know, has taken a real interest in early education and has provided many opportunities for us to act as partners to help with some of the funding sources. So as you can see, there's several up there that are listed. Just wanted you to know that we're definitely taking advantage of those, either internally or with our partners in the county. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight. You already are aware of the Classified School Employee Credentialing Program. Every year we take advantage of that as ways to help our current employees move up into different roles and responsibilities. It's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us. We've had some great success with that. And also our teacher residency programs. Mrs. Silmavia over the past last couple of years has worked very closely with several of the universities in town. And again, we've had huge success getting the right people on the bus. So we're really excited about this. We know this is something that's going to be a long-term effort, but this is a great start for us as we move into the next school year. And speaking of that, another huge piece of this puzzle is making sure that we have facilities that are ready for our kiddos. You're probably aware that the state has very specific guidelines into what these individual classrooms need to look like. We worked really hard in our district to identify what those needs are. We're a huge district. I know Mr. Shrum has told you we are in the top 30 of our state with over 1,000. So while we might seem small on the outside, we're really big on the inside. So it's important for us to make sure that our kiddos are taken care of. Just wanted you to know that this year we are very well prepared for what's coming. It's also going to be the time for us to work through what we're doing this year, analyze our facilities, and see what's working. Mrs. Sullivan earlier described a couple different delivery models we're going to be looking at. That's also going to be imperative for us to see, based on the model, the needs of the facilities are different. So we have to look at a couple things. One, is it working for kids? That's going to be the most important things. Is it sustainable? And what would it look like to get us to the next step? Moving forward into next year, each of those models are going to look a little bit different. It's been an interesting year for us, as Mr. Hernandez would tell you. We're finding more and more students that we didn't see last year are now rejoining us, which is a wonderful problem to have. But each day I can tell you, Mr. Hernandez and Mrs. Somavia are in their office trying to figure out, oh my God, we got 100 more kindergartners today. Where are we going to put them? And it's literally, where are we going to put them? Because you know the rules are different for every child and the staffing ratios that go with it. So I just wanted you to know we're working really hard to make sure that we are set for the first day of school. So with that said, what questions might you have from myself or Mrs. Sullivan?
Questions from the board?
Comments. Can I make a comment? I just want to thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. I'm sad that you're leaving, but I understand and thank you. And when I touched base with you, you said, will you make sure you look after my little ones? And I will. So thank you for everything you've done. You have an amazing preschool program here. And yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Ms. Naylor?
I love the plan. I like the fact that we're looking ahead, you know, and planning out our facilities and all. And I also thank you for the Pro Youth Heart program after school, because there's nothing worse than, you know, our parents wondering, now, how am I going to get my kid home? Or, you know, where am I going to put them? So that helps tremendously. And I think that will bring more students to the schools because we don't have to worry about daycare and transportation. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Just comment again, echoing what Member Gamoyan said is thank you. I mean, I think our preschool program has always been something we've been so proud of, and you've done tremendous work, and we know where to find you. You're not too far away.
Okay. It's not that we're ignoring you, but she's leaving. So we all want to say thank you. Thank you for your service to the school district.
Thank you. If you don't mind, can I share one last piece
Sure.
back on our slide real quickly? Check, is it possible? Pull the slide up. I won't tell you a former student story. I'll just go to the slide. How's this? Right here. So again, I want to thank you very quickly for all the support and helping this program grow to the program that it is. And to Mr. Shrum, I would like to point out that you probably did not realize that this is a preschool learner here in this photo. And so I'm guessing you probably liked it because the image is in your entry plan. But for those that we are most connected to this work, this is a wonderful reminder. This young lady right here is the future class of 2035. I'm gonna say it one more time because when we say it that way, I think that it kind of like, wow, we have an amazing opportunity to really shape each and every one of our children. So she's the graduating class of 2035. And thank you, because early learning is actually the first touch point for many of our students and families in our program, so that they can learn to be connected and be ready for learning at each and every one of the sites that they attend. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for the goodies.
So what I take from that, Ms. Sullivan, is this is something that's real important for us as a board, is that the decisions that we make are not decisions that we're making for this board, but also for future boards. Okay, thank you very much. Our next item, that was information only. Our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 52, Visalia Unified School District revision of Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5132, Dress and Grooming, second read. Mr. Brandon Gridiron, Administrator of Equity and Student Services.
Best topic of the night. Good evening, Board President Guerrero, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Cardoza, incoming Superintendent Shrum. Tonight, I will be bringing forward our second read for our dress code policy. And I would say, I wish I had a co-presenter because it's only befitting to have Mr. DeMayo support me in this with his dress and grooming, but we'll save that for another time. Congratulations, Mr. DeMayo. Excited to work alongside you. But tonight we will actually, I just want to start off with the kind of purpose of what brought us here and just really kind of highlight some areas around our dress code policy. It was really, the goal was to create a policy that was more equitable and ensuring that the policy was equitable in enforcement, and that the enforcement wasn't based on individuals' perspective or perception, but guided by policy. And in addition to that, that we also were providing training opportunities for our staff. So making sure that our teachers, our sites, our staff are trained and implementing the policy consistently. And one of the things that I do want to highlight is that the part of consistency is that the enforcement of the policy is consistent across our district. And one of our challenges, and I'll go over that in a bit when I get to the challenges slide, has been enforcement. It hasn't technically necessarily been the policy itself, but mainly enforcement for various different reasons, which we'll have an opportunity to address this year. And so here are some of the challenges that were brought up in relation to enforcement. Was the opportunity for us to review these expectations with students at the start of the year. Typically every year, sites will have an opportunity to work with their kids, whether it's an assembly or the beginning of the class period, to go over this. This wasn't at the top of mind at the beginning of this year, primarily because of what we were dealing with the pandemic and bringing our students back. And so being able to provide the guidance and clarity around enforcement was a challenge, but also training our staff, because what we were doing is preparing and training and supporting our staff for the return of our students. And so ultimately that impacted enforcement, which made the enforcement inconsistent with concerns with how to remove a kid, what I should do, and so on and so forth. And then there were questions about students' attire, because obviously when there is no enforcement, you start to see kids out of dress code and start to question whether there's a dress code or not. And so those are some of the things that were challenges for this year. One of the things that was recommended as far as changes to the dress code was being specific in relation to midriff. So currently the dress code reads at the bottom of shirts must touch the top of waistband regardless of arm position, basically insinuating that no midriff should be showing. One of the recommendations was maybe we should put clear language in there that just says that tops that reveal midriff is a violation. So that's one of the recommended additions to the dress code. And then that there was specific mention to comment, including things like strapless, backless tops are in violation of dress code as well. So people can clearly know exactly what is in violation. And then that students cannot have clothing or personal items on campus, including brands. And so that would be included that promote any of the following things that you see on the screen, whether it's violent language, drugs, profanity, pornography, or those types of things. And so one of the things that we really want to make sure we address this year is be clear on the enforcement part of the policy. So what I want to point out is exactly what is in the current dress code policy and what was in the policy previously, or the pilot policy. Prior to the change, there was no enforcement rules. So it was really however you wanted to enforce the policy was contingent or based on the site. And so that's where we created some inconsistency. And so here, there's clear guidelines on how you would enforce it and some examples as we go through and training teachers on how to enforce a policy within the classroom without embarrassing or calling out a student or taking too much time. So a simple thing like if a student's out of dress code, sending an email to the administration discreetly, the administration sending a pass up for the student. Student doesn't know really why, and then there's a conversation that's able to be had with the student, between the student and administration, and then the student is giving 3 options. One is they can change into something that they have that puts them in dress code. 2, they can take something from the school that we would provide to them, or 3, they can have a parent guardian bring them something. Obviously, with the 3rd, that could prevent them from being in class for a period of time waiting for their parents. So what we would probably be able to do in that case is just provide them something for the time being so they can remain in class. So that way they can wait till their parents can bring them something and they can change it to something that's more fitting to what they like to wear or whatever the case may be. And so those enforcement rules are actually in the policy itself. And then this is something that is not in the policy, but something that we've shared out to site administration is how do we go through what we call a progressive kind of intervention process for students who are out of dress code. Whether it's the first time we're providing the students a reviewing of the expectations, reminding them of what's expected. Maybe the second time it's a loss of a privilege or a conversation during, a structured time where they're understanding and we're reviewing and going over with them why it's important to follow the dress code, all the way up into like a 5th violation, which we may get to that point, where there is a conversation between the student and the parent and the school to see how we can support the student in making sure that they can comply with the dress code expectations. And so our next steps are to continue to work with our communications team here at the district to develop some type of visual for students of what the dress code expectation is. And based on one of the recommendations that was made last time is maybe getting the students involved in doing some type of competition where they can create the posters for us. And we can then use that as the final visual for us as a district. We also will be launching our Christmas in July. I think there was a recommendation made a few months ago in relation to maybe having a clothing closet at our schools. And so we're working with our local churches and organizations in our community, put on actually by Mr. Waters, Mike Waters, who used to work for us, to have a clothing drive where parents can drop off clothing at various locations. So that information will be coming out very soon between July 1st and July 31st. And we're taking clothing from ages 4 to 18. And then we'll be working with our family engagement division to really look at how do we spread this out across our community. And then obviously, if approved tonight, we'll update the dress code policy language, add that to the new policy, and begin training and sharing this with our site administration. So that way they can begin training their staff and communicating out to students and families. And then once they review the expectations, we'll continue to monitor the policy throughout the year and ongoing and bring it back if we need to. Hopefully we don't need to, but if we need to, we will. Any questions?
Questions or comments from the board?
I do. I have a question. Just about the enforcement expectations. I'm just wondering if, this is a commitment to always be non-confrontational. For instance, if someone's wearing something that's obviously a violation of dress code and they walk up to school with administration all around, are they still going to wait until they're in class and send them a pass type thing? So, or will someone say, hey, that's not dress code, even though that is confrontational?
No, yes.
Okay.
So with any rules in our schools, if a student's violating the policy, we should address it. That's expectation.
Okay, so this is just said it should be done in a discreet, non-confrontational manner. I'm just wondering.
It's a one-on-one conversation, not, hey, you come here, you're at dress code, right? One-on-one conversation with the student. Hey, do you remember the dress code policy? Is there any way I can help you, right? A really calm conversation, respectful conversation. We don't want to embarrass the student and put them in a situation to offer support. Hey, how can I help you? Versus calling them out and having them, you're out of dress code and yelling it in front of everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. And it should be in dress. So if a student is out of dress code and there's a school with staff that may see it, we should be able to have a discreet, non-confrontational, one-on-one conversation with the student to remind them of the dress code expectations.
Mr. Villegas?
Oh, thank you. One thing that I want to suggest for us to do, especially as we approach things like winter formals and proms and dances is reviewing expectations then. For example, I see here strapless, backless tops are in violation of dress code. I know at times these sorts of events, like parents, families invest a lot of money into finding, the perfect dress for the students who wear dresses. And so again, as board member Blair suggested, maybe we can have students take the lead on, reminding their classmates about, what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, et cetera, just because, I would hate for, something like a dress code to ruin a student's night. But clearly reviewing and reminding those expectations, I think would be something that would be a positive step in the right direction.
And thank you for bringing that up. That actually is something in our current policy, that strapless and backless dresses are permitted to these events. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for clarifying.
No problem. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Ms. Kamonian.
Yeah, I'm imagining the first couple of days of school, lots of kids being dress coded. I just see that if we're gonna really enforce it and we're gonna be consistent, I can imagine, those first couple, maybe, 5-6 days of school, there's gonna be a lot of kids that are gonna be dress coded. I mean, are you kind of anticipating that or?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, Mr. President, I'll take that. I think, part of that goes back to what Mr. Gridiron was talking about how are we equipping families to be ready, part of the entry plan coming back to school. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing this year, ramp up days for our administrator. We're going to be practicing, how do we handle these situations, right? So that we're consistent, scenario-based professional development for our teachers and for our administrators. But then over communicate prior to school starting, engaging some of our kids before school starts. And I think the more we do to get the message out, and I also think this represents I appreciate the feedback we got last week, or that wasn't last week, with the last board meeting, because simplifying this a little bit and helping kids see, listen, don't show skin here, make sure language is appropriate and you're not advertising something consequential, and then go about your business, right? And so that we can be spending time, and then tackling things that are egregious, but not running around, with a ruler and that sort of stuff. So I think through our training and through our practicing with administrators and getting consistent with that, sharing that with our kids, we will not hopefully see that at the beginning of the year because people will be ready.
Right. And then like spaghetti straps, okay, right? Yeah. So we don't have to sit there and go, oh, it's not 2 fingers, all that kind of stuff. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Gridiron.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Villegas, second by Ms. Naylor. All in favor?
Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Board Member Case-Selena.
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero.
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Board Member Villegas.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Gridiron.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, excuse me. We'll move on with our agenda. Our next item on the agenda are board member requests. Okay, why don't we start with Dr. Villegas?
Thank you, President Guerrero. I had the pleasure of attending the Community Engagement Forum at Ivanhoe, where we had some solid turnout and got some great feedback from some of our teachers, community members, parents. And so I just want to remind folks, if you're available, we have another engagement session this Wednesday morning at 8:30 a.m. at Mount Whitney. I think we're going to have breakfast burritos, right, as an incentive. So please come on out and continue giving your feedback. Other than that, I was thankful to complete the CSBA Masters in Governance program, and I highly encourage my colleagues on the board to pursue that. If you haven't had the chance to attend, I definitely learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to using that knowledge in my capacity as a board member. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Ms. Blair.
Thank you. I also got to finish my Master's in Governance training, which felt like a milestone. That was really helpful, a lot of information. And I got to visit high school summer school last semester. I would not dare go this semester because my daughter started yesterday. But I went to El Diamante and got to visit with Kristen Corliss, got to see a couple of classrooms. We walked into Mr. Naylor's classroom, which was really fun. And a student recognized that they had the same last name And it was so funny when Joy walked in and he said, "That's her mom. That's his mom." So, and then we went to Mount Whitney and got to talk to some teachers who were, one was working on Edgenuity. That was great. And then I got to go to a community engagement session last night at Goshen, which had an incredible turnout. It was so good to have Javi's there doing tacos, and solid feedback from Angelina. Got so many of her staff to show up, and they really rallied their parents, and their parents brought the kids, and that is an incredible community of people at Goshen. They had so many great comments. Even the kids were writing on the posters, which I loved so much. And then I got to read today at to a 5th grade class at Oak Grove, which was really fun, and got to talk to them about leadership and what it's like to be on a board. And they decided that they need a 5th grade representative on their school leadership. So it was pretty fun.
Ms. Case versus Selena.
No report.
Ms. Nader.
I was able to get out to see the high school summer school, and it's running very smoothly. Lots of kids enrolled. Just love it that we have that intervention available for our students, and acceleration for those who want to get some room in their schedule for next year. I also visited Conyer Summer School, and it was very interesting. They had quite a bit for the students. There was a PE teacher where they were doing the scarves, and it was just a lot of kids, and they have the heart program there to work with the kids all day long. So we just have, it's just so nice that we have so many opportunities for our kids to excel and to remediate during the summer, and just get kids involved in school. They love being there. It was obvious. They're running into the school and going into the cafeteria, get their breakfast and to the class. And so anyways, just very, very nice.
Thank you. Ms. Gaby.
Yes, so I think I was at both of the community engagements with board member Blair. And yes, last night they came out at Goshen, 102-degree heat. And, but it was just such a positive kind of feeling there. They all wanted to participate. It felt great. So thank you to everybody coming out, and lots of Goshen staff there also. So wonderful night. And also had a chance to go out to Four Creeks for summer school, and same thing like Mrs. Naylor said, the kids were excited. I think there's so much learning that happens with enrichment. The teachers were more excited. They said the students were more excited about learning. I think it was the 2nd grade classroom. The kids were telling me about wind and water erosion. So there's definitely a lot of, and it was the day that it was like storming too. So it was like just a cool science connection. But anyway, definitely appreciate all the work that went into summer school, because I know there was lots of materials and kits, and but the kids were definitely learning and enjoying it. So, and the teachers were too. So that was awesome.
Great. Ms. Gamonian.
I also have attended 2 of the community engagements, and I get to go tomorrow morning at 8:30. So please come have a breakfast burrito. And I think we're constantly hearing the feedback and adjusting, and they really have gotten better and better. I also went to high school summer school. Thank you for all the organization. It looked like it was going pretty smooth, and our kids have a chance to remediate, plus they have a chance to advance. And I loved it that with the Edgenuity, there was always a teacher there. So like if the kids need help, they need help with their Chromebook, whatever, there's always a teacher there to help them. I thought that was really wonderful. Also visited yesterday, I went to Golden Oak, and I went to Four Creeks Elementary for their summer school. And, really, I was quite excited because I was a biology teacher, and it's all environmental science. And it was really, I just kept asking because I had some concerns, because I thought, are our kids going to get practice reading? Are they going to get practice math? And when I was at Four Creeks, they were all in the mode of reading. They were in the library. They were getting books. They were getting books about science. Then they also had to get fun books. And then I went to Golden Oak, and all these math things related to the the topic were up on the board. So that made me feel really happy because I do want kids to have fun, but I also want kids to read and do math. So I was very excited about that. And then at Golden Oak, it was really cute because they had to build these dams, and kindergartners are building dams, and they're explaining to the teacher why their dam didn't hold water. And I was quite impressed. So yeah, kudos to the TOSAs and all the people that put those kids together. And it was the teachers were having fun, and the teachers were excited too, because there was like a plethora of lessons. So like they won't have time to do it all. And as a teacher, that's very comforting. So thank you, curriculum department, for that. And thank you, Arias, for all the planning for summer school.
Thank you. So I also went to the community engagement in Ivanhoe, and I went to the community engagement in Valley Oak. While I was at these engagements, I was also counting the number of folks that attended. And I think there were 28 that attended in Ivanhoe. And I think we're at 30 or 31 or 32 at Valley Oak. From speaking to other board members, I think you got close to 40 or at 40 at Golden West. That is very encouraging. I'm sorry, Goshen. That is very encouraging, because when we did the listening sessions for superintendent, we got 5, 6 people at those sessions. And so that means that people are showing up. They want to hear and meet our new superintendent, and they want to have their input. And I think that's very valuable. I will say this, when we have opportunities to meet with other entities or representatives of other entities, then we take advantage of that. While we were in Ivanhoe, the county supervisor Valero showed up, and while he was there, we said, okay, we want to show you a portion of the road next to our school. And this is county jurisdiction. And I will say this, that when we did modernization and we rebuilt our school in Ivanhoe, I believe it was Measure E money, our school district did a lot of the work out there that probably should have been done by the county. And what we did in Ivanhoe is we went out to the west side of the school, and we're looking at the sidewalk. The good thing that County Supervisor Valero did is he explained that there's a Roads to School grant that's coming in. It's going to be for Road 160. And he explained that that should meet up to the section that we're concerned with. The concern that school staff expressed to us was that there was no sidewalk. No, it's just the road finishes there. And then you have families and you have people, moms with strollers and all this other stuff going through there. And it's kind of hazardous, especially on rainy days when it gets, someone mentioned the rain, when there's puddles, they have to walk around, all that. So they're on the road, okay? And those concerns were expressed. And so we're looking at what they're doing on schools to roads, or roads to schools in terms of that improvement. So I wanted to mention that because we need to take advantage of that. As I said, 10 years ago, we didn't get a whole lot of help. And I think we've gotten a lot more help from the county this go around. So right now I'm gonna ask our incoming superintendent to give us a report on what he's been doing with these engagement sessions. I know I caught you off guard, but I want to do that because Bell's gonna leave after this meeting, okay? And I want him to give the last report. So Mr. Schrum, if you could tell us what you've been up to.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. And while I do have a chance just to say again to Interim Superintendent Cardoza, just appreciate, he was sincere in the time that he's taken with me, and I can only hope to have 1/10 of the impact on this district in my time here that he has had in his career. And I know because of that and the conditions of this board allowing this transition to happen and me to have this time to work alongside him, that is allowing us to continue the work of this district. And I just want this board to know I appreciate that because that does not happen in a lot of places. And I think that just shows how committed this board is to advancing the work we're doing in the district. And so I appreciate you and appreciate Superintendent Cardoza. And I do know that he's going to continue to be a supporter of Visalia Unified School District in future ways. And so we wish him the best and a well-deserved retirement and vacation. So also thank you for all of the participation in our forums. I do appreciate the feedback. We do continue to evolve these. And I do want our communities to know we have, again, another one tomorrow morning at 8:30. And but the online survey is still there. That will remain up. And so, you know, two things that I've been sharing around this. First of all, this will not be the only time we have interactive conversation. And so I've been asked at a couple of the forums, will there be a future opportunity? And the answer is yes, there will be. I can't tell you exactly what that'll look like. We got to develop that, right? But I can tell you I'm committed to making sure we continue interactive conversation, two-way conversation. And so the other thing I wanted everyone to know is this will not be the only time we talk about this information. And so part of what we'll do in my superintendent's report in July will be to share back some of the overall themes that we have heard from our community. We will take that information into the next board workshop that will occur after that to begin to utilize that data to talk about what does that mean for our next action steps? What does that mean for our core beliefs and commitments as a board and a school system? What does that mean for future investment? All of those things that will eventually lead into down the road, the beginnings of a strategic plan. But right now it's about clarifying what we believe as a school system is possible for every kid and getting the voice of our community to help us do that. And then transparently begin to say, here's where we are with that. As a baseline, you heard tonight about some of the baseline data, presenting that as it comes back in, and then saying, we know that's not good enough. We know we can do better for our kids, and then working as a district team to create the conditions for that to happen. One thing I can say with certainty is we have amazing people in this district. We have amazing people in this community who care about our kids and our schools. And I know that when the conditions are right, when we work together, we're going to do great things for our kids. They deserve nothing less until, as I've said before, 100% of our kids are college and career ready. 100% of our kids can walk across that stage able to read and able to be a contributing member to society in whatever, you know, pathway they choose. So I believe we have the capability of doing that when we connect every kid. And so I am excited about the future together ahead as we move forward together. And I appreciate this board's confidence in me and this plan. And I look forward to officially becoming your superintendent here on July 1st. And again, I just appreciate the wisdom and the support of Doug. And I know that I will still be calling him. And I know I'm better for the time that I've been able to work with him. So that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Cardoza.
All right. Well, echoing some of the things Kirk talked about, I commend the board for, finding a way to bring him in early. I couldn't imagine coming in as a superintendent on July 1 and trying to figure it all out. I remember coming into a school site as a principal in the summertime and never got to look at kids on campus or teachers or seeing how things flow. So Kirk he's on the run all the time. He is spending time in our community and at our schools and getting a sense of what Visalia is about. And so I think that's going to pay huge dividends for you, as well as the staffing changes and opportunities that you've approved, many of them tonight. And congratulations to all of our folks that are stepping into different roles. So I think you're setting up our district to do great things. So, and lastly, I want to again recognize Amy and say thank you to Amy for her service, but I also want to say thank you to Mrs. Samavia. I know we'll continue to benefit from her services at TCOE. So thank you for your services in Visalia.
So before I do staff dismissal, I want to echo Doug's comments right now. And I first met you back when you were a principal at Crestwood Elementary. And I know you were at Elbow Creek there, but I didn't see you then, but I just want to say, I want to give a heartfelt thank you. And, for all your service to the school district and all the work that you've done here. And, I think that you're going into a really good organization at Tulare County Office of Education. Half our staff works there, I know that, but you know what? I just didn't want the meeting to finish without saying thank you for working for us, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, staff dismissal. So we're going to move on now to our next item on the agenda. Our next item on the agenda is recommended suspended expulsions, enclosure number 53. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Ms. Gaby.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Blair. All in favor?
Board Member Case Beer Soleno,
Abstain.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. Board Member Guerrero,
Yes.
Board Member Naylor,
Yes.
Board Member Villegas,
Yes.
Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Motion carries 6 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 54, collective bargaining agreement between Visalia Unified School District and California School Employees Association, Chapter 83. And we'll open up a public hearing for this. Didi Samavidia or Andy DeMayo? My notes say Didi, but it's Andy. Okay.
Thank you, President Guerrero. Interim Superintendent, Mr. Cardoza, incoming Superintendent, Mr. Schrum, and School Board. Tonight, I have the pleasure of presenting to you our agreement we have with our Classified Employees Bargaining Group. You've had a chance to take a look at it. We're really excited about the opportunities we have this year and partnering with our incredible group of employees. This is a wonderful package that we're so grateful that your group authorized for us this year. I can tell you that it was overwhelmingly ratified by the membership. They too are excited about this as a chance for us this year. So with that said, are there any questions you have about the agreement itself that I can help you with?
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt and approve the collective bargaining agreement between Visalia Unified School District and California School Employees Association, the CSEA, Chapter 83, and classified salary schedules for the fiscal year 2022-23, effective July 1 to 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Villegas seconds. All in
and
favor?
thank you to all our classified employees.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero,
Yes.
Board Member Naylor,
Yes, and again, thank you to all our classified employees.
Board Member Villegas,
Yes.
Board Member Blair,
Yes.
Board Member Case Beer Soleno.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, close the public hearing. We'll now move into enclosure number 55, resolution to establish salary for superintendent, assistant superintendents, district managers, and confidential employees effective July 1st, 2022. Didi Samavilia.
So there's 2, 3. Yeah.
Sorry, you got me all rattled with the thank you and the goodbyes. I appreciate that. I'm Didi Samavia, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. And so I have a couple enclosures tonight. The first one is the resolution to establish salary for the superintendent, assistant superintendents, district managers, and confidential employees. That'll be effective July 1st. So this reflects an increase of COLA of 6.56 and also includes, which is not on the salary schedule, but will include a $3,500 one-time payment consistent with our other bargaining groups.
I make a motion to adopt and approve the resolution and to establish the salary schedules for the superintendent, assistant superintendents, district managers, and confidential employees for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, effective July 1st, 2022. Are you done?
Do we have a second?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'll second.
Sorry, I didn't know I cut you off.
Yes.
Ms. Blair seconds. Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Case Beer Soleno and second by Board Member Blair. All in favor?
President Guerrero,
Yes.
Board Member Naylor,
Yes.
Board Member Villegas,
Yes.
Board Member Blair,
Yes.
Board Member Case Beer Soleno,
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Our next item on the agenda is enclosure number
That's it.
56, employment agreement, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Assistant Superintendent Didi Samavilia, presenter.
Well, hello again. Okay, I have three of these back to back and they're very similar with minor changes. So I'm going to read them through and bear with me here. So this is an employment agreement for Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services that you voted on earlier tonight. The key material terms for the employment agreement are as follows. One, the term is for 3 years from July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. For the 22-23 school year, the assistant superintendent shall be placed on step 1 of the assistant superintendent salary schedule, and the assistant superintendent's annual base salary will be $223,194. In addition to the base salary, the assistant superintendent will be entitled to a $400 per year if the assistant superintendent possesses a master's degree, and a $650 per year if the assistant superintendent possesses a doctoral degree. The assistant superintendent's salary shall be increased or decreased by the same percentage provided to the district certificated staff for the cost of living adjustment. So what you voted on earlier tonight. Upon satisfactory evaluation, the assistant superintendent shall also be entitled to step advancement on the assistant superintendent salary schedule. Number 3, the assistant superintendent shall participate in the district's total compensation program on the same terms and conditions as all other district certificated managers. Since the assistant superintendent participates in the district's total compensation program, the assistant superintendent shall not be entitled to any district contributions towards health and welfare benefits. 4, the assistant superintendent shall be entitled to 1 sick day leave of each full month of service. 5, the assistant superintendent shall have a 225-day work year exclusive of holidays and entitled to 22 days of vacation annually. Number 6, the assistant superintendent shall receive a term life policy with a death benefit equaling $125,000. 7, the district will pay the assistant superintendent dues to participate in up to 1 professional, educational, or community service organization approved by the superintendent. And number 8, the assistant superintendent shall receive $200 per month for an automobile allowance for the performance of district services within the scope of the assistant superintendent's employment. And this concludes a summary of the assistant superintendent employment contract.
I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll move. A motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Nader.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Gaby. All in favor?
Board Member Naylor,
Yes.
Board Member Villegas,
Yes.
Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Board Member Case-Beer Selena.
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 57, employment agreement, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources Development. Assistant Superintendent Didi Summer will be the presenter.
Okay, here we go again. The key material terms of the employment agreement are as follows. Again, the term is for 3 years from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. For the 22-23 school year, the assistant superintendent shall be placed on step 1 of this assistant superintendent salary schedule. The annual base salary will be $223,194. The assistant superintendent's base salary shall be entitled, in addition to the assistant superintendent's base salary, they shall be entitled to $400 per year if they hold a master's degree and $650 per year if they hold a doctoral degree. The assistant superintendent's salary shall be increased or decreased by the same percentage provided to the district certificated staff for the cost of living. And upon satisfactory evaluation, the assistant superintendent shall also be entitled to step advancement on the assistant superintendent salary schedule. 3, the assistant superintendent shall participate in the district's total compensation program on the same terms and conditions as all other district certificated managers. Since the assistant superintendent participates in the district's total compensation program, they shall not be entitled to any district contribution towards health and welfare benefits. The assistant superintendent shall be entitled to 1 day of sick leave for each full month of service. The assistant superintendent shall have a 225-day work year exclusive of holidays and entitled to 22 vacation days annually. The assistant superintendent shall receive a term life insurance policy with a death benefit equal to $125,000. The district will pay for the assistant superintendent's dues to participate in up to 1 professional, educational, or community service organization approved by the superintendent. And the assistant superintendent shall receive $200 per month as an automobile allowance for the performance of district services within the scope of the assistant superintendent's employment. And this concludes the summary of the employment contract.
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, Ms. Casper Selena, motion, second by Ms. Gaby. All
Ready?
in favor?
Board Member Villegas,
Yes.
Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Board Member Casper Selena.
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero.
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 58, employment agreement, Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Leadership. Presenter Didi Samavidia.
I feel as I should have recorded myself the first time and replayed it another time. Okay, one last time here. There's one minor change in this one. First, the term is for 3 years, again, July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. The 2022-23 school year, the assistant superintendent will be placed on step 2 of the assistant superintendent salary schedule. This is for Mr. Mark Thompson, who has already been at step 1, currently this year moving to step 2. That salary base will be $229,306. In addition, he shall receive $400 per year for a master's degree and $650 if he possesses a doctoral degree. The assistant superintendent's salary shall be increased or decreased by the same percentage provided to the district certificated staff for cost of living adjustment. And upon satisfactory evaluation, he should be entitled to step advancement on the assistant superintendent salary schedule. The assistant superintendent shall participate in the district's total compensation program in the same terms and conditions as all other district certificated managers. Since the assistant superintendent participates in this total compensation program, he's not entitled to any district contribution towards health and welfare benefits. The assistant superintendent shall be entitled to 1 day of sick leave for each full month of service, shall work a 225-day work year exclusive of holidays, and be entitled to 22 vacation days annually. The assistant superintendent shall receive a term life insurance policy with a death benefit up to $125,000. The district will pay the assistant superintendent's dues to participate in up to 1 professional, educational, or community service organization approved by the superintendent. And the assistant superintendent shall receive $200 per month as an automobile allowance for the performance of district services within the scope of the assistant superintendent's employment. And this concludes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Naylor, Ms. Casper Selena. All in favor?
I forgot where I started, so I'm going to start with Board Member Blair.
Yes.
Board Member Casper Selena.
Yes.
Board Member Gaby.
Yes.
I vote yes. Board Member Guerrero.
Yes.
Board Member Naylor.
Yes.
Board Member Villegas.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, excuse me. Okay, we're going to move on to enclosure number 59, Raptor Visitor Identification System Adoption Proposal, first read. And Mr. Hamilton, Area Administrator, is a presenter.
Good evening, board members. I'll be your brief intermission between Mrs. Somavia's presentations tonight. So good evening, Board President Guerrero, Interim Superintendent Cardoza, Incoming Superintendent Shrum. Again, my name is Rick Hamilton and I serve as an area administrator here in Visalia. Tonight, we're bringing the first part of our improved safety programs, the Raptor Visitor Management Program. There we go. So Raptor, as a community partner, serves currently 5,000 school districts across the country. That's roughly 35,000 K through 12 schools. They started about 10 years ago with their visitor management program, the one we're bringing forward tonight. They have since added additional products, branching out to further create safe schools within our communities. So again, tonight, first part is the visitor management product. In the future, we're currently reviewing the emergency management and volunteer management products that they also offer and package for us. So we'll potentially be bringing those forward at a later date. So what does visitor management do for us? Our current reality is visitor management at our school sites is done paper pencil. A visitor, a parent, community member, anybody walks in, signs a piece of paper, we give them a sticker and they go on campus. we have really no idea who they are. We've been very fortunate in our community thus far. But this product, and I'll go through some of how it works, but gives us the ability in real time to know who they are against our database, our Power School information, if they have custody rights, if they should be there, if they're legally allowed to be near children. It verifies that within just a few seconds. So it gives us that system that supports our ability to protect our students. The goal again is to make sure that we have safe and supportive schools. So what they'll see when they come on campus for the adults is there's a screen on a standalone kiosk. They'll log in, the first time visitors, and I'll show you in a minute what it looks like, but they'll scan their California ID or driver's license. It runs them against a background, Megan's Law background, criminal background, and it tells us if they're not allowed to be on campus. It also works with Power School. If it's not their week for custody rights, we have that information as well, and it would flag and say, you're not supposed to be here this week. Next week's your week, and we can go through that information with them. If they do pop up, and what Raptor has shared with us, when we go online, should we adopt this? We should expect some people to pop up as with criminal backgrounds that aren't allowed to be near students that we hadn't known before. They said it's very typical within the first few weeks for us to get some of those alerts. Again, just notifying us that these are individuals that should not be around students, that we have had around students in the past. So this is what it looks like. So we have like a desktop computer, touchscreen, and then two small peripheral devices. One's a printer that prints out the little stickers. If you can see closely enough, when it prints out the sticker, it actually prints their photo onto the sticker and where they're going, what time they're going. So when we put that on their lapel and they're walking around on campus, any of our staff members can see that's who it is and that they're authorized to go to counseling, to go to room 204, to go where it is they're supposed to be going. And so it really does give us the information that we need to know that people on campus belong there. Because right now, again, we can walk around campus and really we're guessing if people truly belong, and we're hoping they belong. And hope is not a strategy. So we're gonna move to a more effective strategy that will support our students in a better way. Again, the small device on the right is the ID scanner. Kind of a cool thing when you watch it, you slide your ID in vertically, it sucks it in, scans it, and pops it back out to you, and again, runs it across the national database. The other thing that it does for us is we can, either at the school level or the district level, in real time, know who's on our campuses at any given moment. So if we go back to the other slide, I could show you, and we can do contractors, visitors, volunteers. We know all the adults on campus. So like in the event of a lockdown, in the event of an evacuation, in any of these unfortunate events, we can actually know who's on our campuses at a snapshot and be able to support that process. Added benefit to this product, and coming from a high school background, this is something that really appealed to me. We can put a second kiosk in our attendance areas for high school students, and as they walk into campus, they just walk by with their ID, barcode scans, it pops out a little tardy sticker for them, and they can go straight to campus. We don't have to bog up with lines, getting everybody's names and trying to log them in. This automatically talks to Power School. So it can track all the tardies, and we're not delaying students. A student that's 3 minutes late now might be 10 minutes late because of the time it takes us to log them into Power School and take all that information. Now they just walk by, it scans them, prints out their little ticket, they can walk to class. And we've minimized the disruption for them being out of class, but we've accurately captured who's in class and who's not. So it's just, again, this is an added benefit. This is what we weren't necessarily looking for this as a feature. It's part of what they offer, and it's a great extra tool. So here's what happens as we get to this product and somebody scans in that, let's say, is a registered sex offender, and they scan their ID for the first time, and it would show up red. It doesn't show up red to them, But the secretary would see it. Secretary doesn't have to say anything because what it does is it would notify the administrator on campus that there's an adult that doesn't necessarily belong. We would have to go through training with our folks on how to have the conversation that, you know, and most people that would be registered understand what they should and shouldn't be doing. It doesn't mean we deny them access because a parent that is a registered sex offender showing up for an IEP has a right to attend the IEP. We would escort them to the IEP. We just wouldn't let them wander campus. So there are protocols that we would have in place, but it does give us identification and lets us know, you know, it's not a student, it's not a parent that would be allowed to be a volunteer, but they do have certain educational rights. They don't waive those rights. So this is kind of how it shows up. So we do get an alert on anybody and it warrants the conversation. It could mean they have to leave, but it could mean that we need to escort them where they're going on campus to access their educational rights for their student. So we can do this with minimal staff interruption, because if you've ever been at any of the schools and watched some of our wonderful clerical assistants try to deal with all the parents coming through, it can really bog them down. So the process I described earlier was scanning your ID. That's the first time you come through. After you've scanned your ID the first time in a given school year, after that, you're in the system. All you have to do is type in the first couple of letters of your name. It pops up. You verify that's you. It pops up for the ladies that says, yes, that's who I'm looking at. And it prints out your sticker and you're validated to go onto campus. So it really is much quicker. The more times you go to campus, it speeds up the process, but it still runs you every time across the database to make sure there's not anything new that we need to be aware of. So again, it is a very nice system. It does have the ability to do some of the volunteer management. They do have another product that's much more robust about volunteer management, but we can use this for those parents that especially I think elementary school that would go in and want to volunteer in a classroom. We can vet them through and do it all on the campus, potentially do the volunteer training right there at the kiosk. They get registered in our database and we're good to go. And we've shortened that process dramatically. The fingerprinting and the driver DMV pull stuff, we can't really get around that. Those parts that if we need to do that would still have to run through the district office, but we'll bring that up at a later time. But that's just, again, we have the ability, we can look at contractors that we can preload into our database. They show up on campus, they log in as, you know, we're with such and such contractor, it prints out their sticker. And again, we know who's supposed to be there because there's times that contractors show up and we're, you know, from a high school standpoint or any of our elementaries, we're guessing that they're supposed to be there. So it takes away the guessing about who's supposed to be on our campus and who's really cleared to be on our campus. With our adoption, it does offer ongoing support. Again, they have 24/7 access. They've built out a ton of videos and supports to help with the training. They have both in-person and kind of the Zoom versions of training that they offer for train the trainers kind of model. So they would train our staff. We would train our schools to do this work, to do the implementation. And then last but not least is the cost. So what I put on here, a little different look. Year one, the total is $138,311.36. That's the total adoption and what we would look for from an approval standpoint. I did want to include that we are looking at doing our own kiosks, their own computers. They supply the peripherals, the printers and little scanners. But to do their kiosk, they're all in one little unit. Instead of $35,000 for all of our schools, it would cost us $150,000 for all of our schools. So we would rather do our own. It's much more cost effective that way. So yeah, Nathan says, yes, we need to do our own. So that is not something we're looking, from a transparency standpoint, the out-the-door price for the first year would be at roughly $174,000. And then, pardon? No, that's total. That's for the whole district. And then ongoing costs, again, for the whole district, right at $50,000 a year for the ongoing maintenance and licensing support. and I went pretty quick because I was told I was between you and the door. So any questions?
No,
I have
we
some
still
questions.
have 2 more presentations after this.
So-
So any questions from the board? Go ahead, Mr. Leno. Oh,
Well, I think Mr. Shrum can go.
Well, I just want to add to the report. I have worked in systems with this system. I can tell you that, we know we've got to make some investments in our safety and security. We know we have to analyze our visitor and volunteer policy. And so that will still continue even with this. This just now creates a systematic way that we have a consistent way for visitors and volunteers, students and others to sign in once they get on campus. I do know that sometimes it raises eyebrows, the piece about the background and connecting with Power School. And when we implemented this in Fulton County, 100,000 students, it went really seamless. We trained our administrators on how to handle those situations because again, as he indicated, we do have to be cognizant that we do have family members that may have situations in their personal life, but that does not mean they can't be on campus or with certain safeguards and those sorts of things. And so I can tell you that when this is implemented from personal experience, it works really well. Visitors have a badge. It's really seamless. It's really fast. It does help our front office folks who are trying to multitask and do all of that and sign in and in the unfortunate event, should we have an emergency, currently we don't have any way to know who exactly all are the people on campus. You're not going to remember to grab that piece of paper off the front counter, right? And so this just brings automation to our processes. Of course, all of this we vet when we do a contract through legal means to make sure that all those pieces mesh. And but I do just wanted to say that I do support our evolving processes of how we do work to keep our campuses safe and secure. So thank you for that.
Go ahead.
Snyder.
I just want to say, I went to a school here in the Valley that had this system, and I was impressed because I came in as an outsider just to, tour the school, put my driver's license in there, and the ID popped out with my picture and everything, and that's my badge for the day, and it had everything on there, and it is very seamless. And the secretary just moved on, and they just had a little note there on how to proceed. So it was wonderful. And I just think the fact that our students, when they're tardy, can just scan that would relieve a whole lot of headaches in the attendance office, because I've been there, and it is, those women and men, our classified staff work so hard, but that just relieves a little bit of that tension in the morning.
I had a couple questions. What if someone doesn't have an ID?
So we can hand enter and we'd have to verify who they are. We can go through that whole process of hand entering. They can bring in other, like if they brought up like bring in a passport, you can't really scan it through some form of ID who they are. They have to have some form of ID to allow them on campus.
Okay.
And we kind of expect that now. So it's not something new. But if it's not like a California ID that would scan into the system or any state ID, then we would have to hand enter. Takes a little longer, but we'd have to go through that process with this staff on how they hand enter and verify who they are.
So I'm obviously concerned about our students who have undocumented parents. I don't think very many undocumented parents are going to have a passport or I know that they can get a California state ID. I know that is possible, although I thought there was something that went on with that. But anyways, are there still ways for all of our parents to be able to access
so we can hand it. So if we'll pick on Ms. Gaby. If she doesn't have an ID, we can hand enter her information. If there's a Gaby that pops up on the system on the offender database, we just verify that picture versus who she is in front of us. If it's not the same person, then we can move forward.
Okay, and then Ms. Gaby's, sorry,
we'll pick on her.
Information that is then collected in this data system, what happens to that data?
So all we get to save is it saves the picture, and then it blanks out everything else.
Okay, and so do you know if this company then sells our data to anyone? Okay.
Actually, they don't access our data. It's we have it locally.
Okay, and then my question, so I know that we're talking about it pops up. It's just popping up for like a sex offender. Like that's what they're running it through is the sex offender
Yes, the sex
database.
offender. Yes, sex
Okay,
offender.
it's not getting
It's not every
run
criminal record. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that would take quite a while to run through all the state records.
And then I know this is kind of a strange one, but trust me, it happens more than you think. I've had clients in court. It's not them. Like, believe it or not, there's a lot of John Smiths with the exact same date of birth who are both 6 foot and weigh 180 pounds. And it's not as easy at like, I don't think it'll happen all the time. I think it would be very rare. But I guess my question would be if that does happen and there's a parent or a volunteer, how would they contest something like that within our district?
Well, and that's why the alert goes to the administrator. And the administrator would have to work through with the parent, one, if they're there for a legal meeting, then obviously we work with them to escort them to the meeting. And if they wanted to volunteer, they probably wouldn't be able to volunteer that day. We'd have to work through how we would get them access. Yeah, because most of the time it does show, when we look at Megan's Law or the national database, it will show us a picture of the offender and we have their legal picture in front of us to compare. So even if it shows up, yes, it's them, but it's not the same person in the picture, we can override the system.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
I have something as well. And thank you for raising that, Trustee Case-Pearsall. I know, for undocumented residents, that is a concern, and there's concerns around data information sharing, which is why I think it would be great if we could actually offer some resources and information alongside these kiosks. So for example, California state law does allow undocumented residents to obtain driver's licenses, but not everybody knows that depending on how long they've been in the country. My other concern around populations that this might affect would be students or families of students who are experiencing homelessness, and what sort of options would they have in order to prove that they are the legal guardian of their child, et cetera, or students who go through multiple changes of addresses because they're working, or migrant students, et cetera.
So let me clarify, we're not verifying guardianship with this system. I mean, we are, but we've already done the guardianship piece when they register. We've gone through all that through that process. It's just clearing it through our current information. So again, we'll pick on Mrs. Gay because she's easier to pick on. When she registered Carmen for school, she had proved that she was Carmen's parent. Now she doesn't have to prove it again. She just scans in and we know that, and the system would know that. And so there's no further vetting of that.
That's fine.
Does the program say Mrs. Gaby has a restraining order?
So if we have that information, if that information, because some of that comes, we get court documents all the time, and our court documents get logged into PowerSchool because that's our student information system. So if it's things that we have on file in PowerSchool, then yes, it would show because what we oftentimes is it's, in divorced parents, it's certain people's week or not their week. That would get scanned against the system because this also does student pickup. So you come to pick up your student, you log in or scan in, I want to pick up my student. It would tell us, if it's not your week, I'm sorry, we can't release the student to you because it's not your week this week. So it has that piece as well.
Nice.
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions. In a system where we did implement this prior to my last system, I did serve schools that are very similar to the ones here. A lot of parents that were undocumented and other things. And so we would work to make sure we assure our community that this is not a barrier for their access. This does not report to local authorities that, hey, we have, these parents just deemed undocumented, because that's certainly a reality we have right now. And part of that is through the data sharing agreement and the legal contract, that how that information is stored. And so I appreciate the concerns echoed tonight. And so we'll make sure before we come back for final, I think this is just first read, before we come back for final, that we are clearly addressing some of that so that our community knows this does not hinder anyone's access, but it does give us a level of clarity and consistency across our sites of how our visitors and volunteers can access campus. So I appreciate those questions.
Thank you. I appreciate the assurances from Superintendent Shrum and Mr. Hamilton. One question, and I'm so glad you're in charge of all of these exciting new things at the district. Does this communicate, or can it communicate at all with the Trans Finder software? I know you mentioned like scanning IDs.
So Raptor is not directly. So everything is tied to PowerSchool. PowerSchool is our student information system. So TransFinder communicates, it only communicates the transportation page of PowerSchool, and it'll pull addresses back to TransFinder to route. This would access the same database in PowerSchool just to verify student records, student, parents, that they're legitimately their parent, that they have business there. So yes, they both access PowerSchool. One does not talk directly to the other. Thank you. Yep.
Ms. Gaby, do you have any comments since you've been mentioned so much?
No, I do think communication obviously is key because we have, I mean, on elementary campus, most parents actually don't walk in with ID. We've known them since, they registered in this many years, and but it is extremely helpful because we also have crazy school calendars, like highlighted which parent has them this week, and like you need a special decoder ring, and this is much better for our staff and doesn't have to put them in the middle of that confrontation. So awesome.
Okay, this is the first read. You'll be coming back to us at our next board meeting. Thank you very much for your presentation. Our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 60. Property Advisory Committee report and resolution declaring surplus property VCIS West Campus. And Mr. Steve Pena is the Director of Operations, our presenter.
Good evening, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Cardoza, incoming Superintendent Shrum. Steve Pena, Director of Operations. Sorry, I'm a little nervous today. I took like a week off and now I'm nervous again. So sorry. So I'm bringing a resolution for board approval tonight. I have a PowerPoint that we're going to kind of share with you that we shared with the committee on the property that we are looking to put for surplus. So here we go. The current list of properties is VCIS West. It is next to the old Kmart building, or also next door to the new county probation building that the county just took over the last year. On June 16, 2022, we established a quorum, and they are bringing the recommendation to declare the property surplus. After this process, if it's approved, we'll be informing the city, state, and county and nonprofit groups about this property. As some of you guys may know, we do have a lot of interest from different community groups, also developers within the city of Visalia. So this is a hot building right now. The building is VCIS West, APN 095-010-063. We purchased this in 2018 for $3.9 million. We put roughly $700,000 into the building for the campus VCIS West. So we have a total about $4.6 million into the building. It's about 2¼ acres. The square footage is a little over 21,000 square feet. And we had our broker for the district kind of give us an estimated cost, and his value came in at 1.15 million. And that was about 4 to 5 months ago. So it's a little outdated. We will bring this up. If you guys do approve the resolution, we will be bringing this to, sorry, went blank again. We'll have our an appraisal done on the property. And then at that point, that's what we'll list it at. Sorry. Where VCIS West will be going and East Campus is to their new facility. We purchased this in February of 22. We bought this campus for 5.2 million, and this is a little bit over 40, almost close to 50,000 square feet. So we've increased the size to allow for the 2 buildings to go under one roof, or one building, one location. So the recommendation is to declare the property surplus. And that is my presentation. Short and sweet, and sorry again.
You did any questions or comments from the board?
You did good. And I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Villegas, Dr. Villegas, second by Ms. Case-Beer-Soleno. All in favor?
Board Member Case-Beer-Soleno?
Yes.
Board Member Gaby?
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero?
Yes.
Board Member Naylor?
Yes.
Board Member Villegas?
Yes.
Board Member Blair?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is notice of intent to employ certificate of personnel and approval of provisional internship permit requests. Didi Samavidia, Assistant Superintendent. This is your last meeting. This is your last item on the agenda.
No, my last one. Okay, well, good evening, board members, Board President Guerrero, interim Superintendent Mr. Cardoza for the last time, and incoming Superintendent Mr. Schrum. I bring to you a notice of intent to employ certificated personnel on a PIP, which is a provisional internship permit. It's an emergency credential. We have 2 candidates here. They're both currently with us, and they're going to continue on with us, which is a good thing. We have one at Redwood High School and another one at Viva Blum Elementary School. And they just need more time to be fully credentialed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Naylor. Ms. Case Solano.
Case Solano.
Yes. All in favor?
Board Member Gaby?
Yes.
I vote yes. President Guerrero?
Yes.
Board Member Naylor?
Yes.
Board Member Villegas?
Yes.
Board Member Blair?
Yes.
Board Member Case Solano?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
There are no more items on the agenda. This meeting is adjourned.